Bougainville, easternmost island of Papua New Guinea. A rain-soaked volcanic outcropping, some 30 miles wide by 120 long, whose mountains soar to 8,000 feet above the South Pacific's tropical waters. For the people of Bougainville and of all Papua New Guinea, these mountains have long been the guardian of a treasure, a hidden storehouse of mineral wealth, gold, silver, and copper. There is, in fact, a mountain of copper ore, 900 million tons of ore, from which are extracted annually 150,000 tons of copper contained in concentrate, 500,000 ounces of gold, and 1 million ounces of silver. Commercial operation of Bougainville's copper mine was begun April 1, 1972. But one of the pre-commissioning highlights occurred in mid-November 1971, when the first load of ore was dumped into the primary crusher. The ore processing consists of 4 separate stages. After primary crushing, the ore is conveyed to the secondary and tertiary crushers, where it's reduced to a -1/2 inch size and stockpiled in fine ore storage. Oversized ore is screened out and returned for further crushing. 8 feeders supply the ball mills with the finely crushed ore. As it passes through the grinding circuits, the fine ore is reduced and classified in cyclones to a finished pulp, ready for the flotation process. Chemical reagents are added to the pulp, which is then pumped to the flotation section. Through agitation and the adding of low-pressure air, bubbles are formed to which the copper minerals adhere. The resulting froth is collected as a concentrate of approximately 30% copper. This is pumped as a slurry by pipeline to the seacoast. In the last stage, vacuum filters remove the water, and the concentrate is then dried for shipping. The promise of riches dates back to the first appearance of this island group on 16th century maps. Seafarers' tales of rivers running gold had sparked many voyages of exploration. But the richest island in this far corner of the earth was to remain unknown, until 1758. French captain Louis-Antoine de Bougainville, on a voyage round the world, notes a new discovery in his logbook.
On the 7th, our course made good, when, on the 10th, at daybreak, the land was discovered, bearing from east to northwest. Long before the break of day, a delicious smell announces the vicinity of this land, which forms a great gulf open to the southeast. I have seen but few lands which wore a finer aspect than this. A low ground, divided into plains and groves, lay along the seashore, and from thence it rose like an amphitheater up to the mountains, whose summits were lost in the clouds.
Fearing shoals and sandbanks and winds that drove at the coast, Captain Bougainville regretfully sails past the bountiful islands that was to carry his name. Missionaries provided the earliest and most enduring imprint of Western culture. They came during the 19th century. They stayed, and they developed schools, the first in these remote islands of the Pacific. The islanders, in their own course, had developed a strong social structure. The missionaries taught refinements and an awareness of the outside world. In turn, the world and history made its most dramatic notice of various South Pacific islands during World War II. Epic battles are remembered in the names: Coral Sea, Guadalcanal, and Bougainville. Copper was long known to be present in the Crown Prince Range of south-central Bougainville. Early mining operations between 1933 and 1951 had revealed surface evidence, but the copper mineralization was considered of little potential. Not until 1964 was a thorough exploration made of the area. Conzinc Rio Tinto of Australia, operating in light of new discoveries concerning the disposition of porphyry copper and utilizing refined techniques of geochemical exploration, determines the copper occurrence to be of enough value to warrant more extensive evaluation. From a program that included the diamond drilling of more than 200 holes, the ore body was conservatively estimated at 900 million tons. It was of low grade, but feasible for a high volume operation. The cost to perform this preliminary evaluation work was high, but it enabled the establishment of a measure by which the risks of investment, the financial results, and the consequences of decisions could be determined. A high-capacity computer was used to develop a precise model of the ore body and to project marketing, management, and operating problems. A 17-mile access road was cut from the coast through a 3,500-foot pass in the Crown Prince Range and into Panguna. Under the auspices of Conzinc Rio Tinto and New Broken Hill Consolidated Limited in Melbourne, Bougainville Copper Proprietary Limited was incorporated in the then territory of Papua and New Guinea in June of 1967. It was to be owned 80% by Bougainville Mining Limited and 20% by the government of Papua New Guinea for the people of that country. Spurred by the impetus of an international funding venture of 400 million Australian dollars, construction of mine and processing facilities was started in 1969. The joint venture of Bechtel Western Nap Engineering was selected to be responsible for overall engineering, procurement, and construction management.
The project is complex. First, we had to strip the overburden from the mining area in order to expose the ore. Secondly, we had to develop the concentrator site and construct the concentrator in a valley from the point over the hill from the mine because of the scarcity of suitable land for construction. Concentrate is shipped to the coast down a pipeline which follows the port mine access road. As it arrives at the port, it is filtered, dried, and put into storage, ready for transport.
Supporting facilities for mine operation will include a service wharf, a 135,000 kilowatt power station, heavy and light fuel storage, and 2 complete towns. Foremost among the challenges was logistics, the expediting of heavy equipment and material on a precise timetable. The speed and accuracy of the computer again was used to tabulate and index the tens of thousands of material and equipment items needed, and to plot dates and lead time required for deliveries of these supplies. For direct coordination, telex lines and telephone links were maintained with field offices and suppliers' plants around the world. Even before construction operations on Bougainville were started, manufacturers in a half-dozen countries have begun work on long lead items, such as the power station generators, crushers, ball mills, flotation cells, and these giant 17 cubic yard electric shovels that would operate at the mine pit. In all, some 200 contractors were participants in the project. On Bougainville, the requirement for equipment and supplies was second only to the urgent need for labor. A peak force in excess of 10,000 would be required. BCP had resolved, both in construction and later operation, to employ and train local people of Papua New Guinea. A firm policy of integration was inaugurated at the very beginning and proved highly successful. One of the toughest jobs on the project was the construction of the port mine access road. It generally follows the route of the road cut during the exploration and evaluation phase, except that where the initial road had a maximum grade of 20%, the new road does not exceed 12%. Construction required the filling of a swamp and monumental earth-moving operations where the steep, rugged hills are subject to landslides and erosion due to the heavy rainfall. Ridge tops were cut away, and where slides and runoff were a threat, benching systems were cut, some rising as high as 400 feet above the road. Left alone, jungle vines would rapidly envelop these roadside areas to obliterate the mark of man. Concurrent with road construction, an endless parade of material and equipment was brought into the PANGUNA area in support of mine pit and concentrator plant development. The difficulties of environment and locale added to the normal challenges of construction. As a result, innovative techniques guided much of the progress. In land clearing, yarders were used. Heavy steel cables drawn high through the jungle to fill up to an 800-foot swathe in a single pull. To remove the volcanic overburden, hydraulic monitors were combined with traditional earth-moving methods. During peak operations, over 500,000 cubic yards of earth were cut and removed per month to develop the sites. And for the foundations and flooring for the crushers and ball mill installations, nearly 25,000 cubic yards of concrete were poured in their development. Throughout construction, the difficulty of the terrain was complicated daily by heavy rains. 6 inches per hour over short periods is not uncommon, and the annual rainfall total often approaches 250 inches. At Aniwa Bay, without the jungle and steep terrain to contend with, port installations followed a more normal routine. From Bougainville, the ore was to be shipped as a dry concentrate. No smelting will be done on the island. Therefore, complete ore handling and wharf facilities had to be built, in addition to the concentrate filtering, drying and storage facilities of the slurry pipeline terminus. The power station required extensive earthwork. An excavation of 1 million cubic yards was required to provide a suitable base for the plant. Upon completion, the power station was to be fully enclosed for weather protection. Its 3 steam turbo generators would more than double the country's existing installed capacity. Power from this station will serve not only the mine operations, but also the towns of Arawa and Panguna, opening the way for additional commercial and domestic services in those areas. To help operate the mine and concentrator plant, some 3,000 people will ultimately be located in one of the new towns, Panguna. By classic definition, Panguna is a company town, but by description, it's being developed to provide for its inhabitants all the features and comforts of a modern urban center. Houses are of contemporary styling with all electric utilities and designed to take full advantage of the area's natural beauty. The coastal town of Arawa is being developed jointly by the mining company and the government of Papua New Guinea. Arawa is projected to become one of the largest towns in Papua New Guinea, with a population expected to exceed 10,000. Extensive services and facilities have been planned that will permit orderly growth. Each town has its own shopping center, schools, medical centers, recreation facilities. And public safety services, outfitted with new equipment and trained personnel.
What about this rotating section in the centre?
That's the amateur.
What about these insulated copper segments in there?
Commutator.
These carbon sections with a lead connected to them.
Right.
First of all,
Intensive training programs have put the people of Papua New Guinea into all phases of the mine's construction operation. Trainees were selected for their aptitude and given realistic experience on equipment models before actually operating the machines.
Benedict, would you like to go forward now and place the starter in the start position? It'll be downwards.
It consists of 5 main parts: the tailstock, carriage, bed, headstock, and feeding and screw cutting mechanisms.
Britannia, would you like to go through that pre-start check for me?
Check your starter, air pressure gauge, and make sure you have enough air to start up the engine.
41 of these Euclid trucks will be used to haul ore from the mine site. Training for their operation and maintenance is only a part of a total education and training program that costs close to $1 million a year. BCP, with the government, placed a high priority on good working relations with the local people of Bougainville. Building on their strong background of social development, the people of Bougainville have accepted and adopted both the cultural customs and methods of commerce brought by the expatriates. Some have entered into business. And a large number have become shareholders in the mine itself. Language has been one of the more difficult hurdles. On the island of Bougainville alone, there are 19 individual languages. Pidgin has become the standard lingua franca.
One good island along South Pacific, and we have long new Bougainville. Little time before, only bung long this island. Long Prince Philip, man long Queen, and we come up. This la look about, and we traveler.
Early in 1971, a visit by His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh sharply dramatized the importance of the island's role in bringing to Papua New Guinea new economic growth.
And we swim all this la island, and we come up strong more. Long passing, long all business, now kind something, long Papua New Guinea. Prince Philip, and we have much long look him, work long Bougainville copper.
A tour of the mine and its facilities, now about a year from startup, highlighted his call. The Bougainville Copper Project has been described as the largest grassroots mining operation yet undertaken. The title is well deserved, for it refers to the immense tonnages slated for startup production. 90,000 tons of ore will be mined and processed each day, and at scheduled production rates, that volume will be maintained for 25 to 30 years. The proceeds from this staggering resource will at once double the country's anticipated export income, vastly increase internal revenues, and will provide sustained employment for upwards of 1,500 of Papua New Guineans. An important milestone in the program was the arrival of major units of equipment for the mine and concentrator plants from the United States, the Euclid haul trucks. From Australia, the powerful secondary and tertiary crushers. And from Japan, ball mills, among the largest yet fabricated. The flow of this equipment to the mine site and concentrator plant was nearly continuous throughout 1971. The long months of planning, of design and engineering, the coordination of international contractor force, and of site preparation and construction work were now climaxed by the arrival and installation of these giant machines, the crushers. Each weighs 74 tons, and there are 18 of them. The ponderous 18 by 21-foot ball mills. It is the size and number of these machines, 8 in all, that make possible the enormous capacity of the concentrator plants.
We're having trouble with that number 6 apron feeder too. It's out on overload. We'll have to get in touch with the fitter to check it out. Can you start up number 4 now? Number 4 screen. Yes, I've increased it to 50. Okay, matey.
The island of Bougainville has an area of 3,900 square miles. The copper mine and its processing facilities occupies but 10 of those square miles. The first concentrate resulting from pre-commissioning efforts was shipped in March 1972. This vast treasure, now uncovered, is bringing to a formerly remote island society a new vitality through economic growth. Combined with that growth is the learning of new skills and trades that will open a totally new dimension of industrial development for the people of Bougainville and for all people of Papua New Guinea.